I know you already heard Sue Frederick's here today, so I don't have to go through that whole spiel, but just to let you know, she's a lifelong intuitive. She's an author of several books, of which we have quite a few of her books out in the lobby. If you're interested in picking up a copy, I have The Divine Lens. I love it. It's a great book. So without further ado, please welcome Sue Frederick.
You recognize this? So I had, it's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to be introduced by the Beatles. And how many of you were alive when that song came out? So the reason the Beatles mean a lot to me is I think they were probably one of my first spiritual teachers. Because I was a little Catholic girl in Alabama in the 60s, and quite different from the mainstream there, even though I tried very hard to be like everyone else. All of you are quite different, I believe, or you wouldn't be here, and that's a good thing. So, and I was viewing life through what I call the ego lens. Today we're going to talk about our two ways that we view our life, our ego lens and our divine lens, and how they serve us and don't serve us. And I was lost. I was filled with self-doubt as a 7th grader in a Catholic school in Mobile, Alabama. Trust me, it was quite a conventional thinking town, very prejudiced and sort of hate-filled and money class and all that stuff. And I knew in my heart that somehow there was something more, that somehow God was love. I knew that in spite of whatever messages I was hearing in church. Also from friends and family, I just knew that somehow there was a different way to look at things. And suddenly, 7th grade, the Beatles come on Ed Sullivan. And I'm not kidding when I say that it slipped me into my divine lens view, my soul's wisdom, my knowingness. It was one of the first moments of my lifetime of spiritual awakening. And I believe the Beatles' music carried a very intense love energy, still does, and that this is why it affected all of us so much. So that journey from that 7th grade, suddenly we are all connected. We are not separate. There is love and light. There are places I can go and people I will be with someday in my future who will resonate with my point of view, and I won't be lost in my small life forever. Do you all remember having moments like that growing up? Yep, and we never forget those moments. But then we do forget. Because we all go through our life vacillating between the ego lens and the divine lens, and your ego is necessary. We need it. The ego says, well, I got to go do my laundry today. Oh, I better get some work done. Oh, I forgot where my keys are. We need all of that ego survival talk. We can also call it the left brain. However, it also says things like, who do you think you are? You really think you're good enough to do so-and-so? Wait a minute, remember that last time you screwed up? You're going to do that again. That's our ego voice, our ego lens. It tells us life is tragic. It tells us, wow, turn on TV and look at politics and nothing good is going to happen anytime soon, right? Turn on the news, you're going to hear this point of view. This is the ego self talking. And we can forgive the ego because we need it to survive. We agreed to have an ego when we dropped into this heavy, dense realm. We couldn't function in this heavy energy without it. The problem is, we get lost in that view and we believe that's the truth. That's what's really real. if I can see it happening and hear it on the news, it's real. And then meanwhile, we have our soul whispering, our divine lens, our Beatles songs in our head saying, wait a minute. You are a divine being. I am a divine being. And I came here on purpose with a gift and a challenge and everything in divine order for me to bring my voice to the world to help raise consciousness. It's not about the ego, the personality. It's not about Sue Frederick. It's not about any of us here as personality bodies. It's about us as souls on a shared journey. Here's the thing I've learned over my years, because I've spent a lot of years going back and forth between ego lens and divine lens, as we all do, and it's impossible to live fully in the divine lens. But the thing I've learned is that when you hit a tragedy, when you hit a big bump in the road, whether it's the loss of your loved one through death, or a career disaster, or a bankruptcy, or a divorce, suddenly your heart is ripped wide open. And you would think that's a bad thing, right? The ego lens is going to go, this is tragic. This is just the worst thing ever happened to you, girl. And your soul is going to go, oh, this is so good, because now I'm asking the important questions. Who am I? Why am I here? Where did my loved one go if they've crossed over? And why am I still here on earth if my person I love most in the world is on the other side? These are the good questions, the juicy questions that get us really in our divinity. And you can get lost down here in this ego world and forget all those questions and just kind of think it's fun here and you're having a great party. But I can guarantee you, I've worked with thousands of people, there ain't nobody who gets out of here alive. And there's nobody who gets out of here without loss or pain or disappointment or tragedy. This is what we agreed to experience. Why? Not to punish ourselves, so that we could push through it and be in this world connected to our divinity. And you can call that God, you can call it Buddha, you can call it all kinds of names. It is love, light, the highest realms, the highest energy possible. And do we all channel that in? You betcha. And what's the secret for channeling that in? The heart. And if you can say that your divine lens has one secret to it, it's about shutting up the monkey mind, that chatter. You can hear it right now. Oh, come on, I got stuff to do this afternoon. This is taking a long time. I wonder if I can sneak out. The ego lens is chattering. Your soul is going, I need to rethink that person I'm really upset with today and see if there's a way I can see this through my soul's view. So Heather, do you want to put on the first slide? I have a person helping me with slides. I've got a book that I'm teaching from this afternoon and I'm speaking from today, and so these slides that we're going to talk about are from this content. So I'm not sure. I can't really read that, so I'm going to read it from here, but you guys can see it. At this very moment, your divine self is battling your ego self to determine how you'll experience this day. Your divine self whispers, this is your greatest moment. Choose love over fear. Step into the light and become the source of love for everyone. Your ego self whispers, I'm not good enough or strong enough. Life is unfair. I'm in too much pain. Or nobody loves me. Why should I love anyone else? Right? So you get to choose. That's the great thing. And I'm asking you for today, your experiment, put on your divine lens, and try to see every moment of this day through your soul's perspective. And that could mean the traffic when you're driving home. That could mean the argument with your spouse in the car. That could mean the child who's driving you crazy. Or it could mean the grief that you're holding in your heart. Because grief is our greatest teacher, I believe. I'm prejudiced about that. And the reason I believe that is that grief has been my greatest teacher. And many of you I know in the audience, and I know that you know my story, but my great awakening after the Beatles was when I was 29 years old and I was a mountain climbing instructor for Outward Bound, and I felt very fearless, and I had overcome a lot of self-doubt to get that far, where suddenly this little girl from Mobile, Alabama was leading mountain trips through the Colorado Rockies and teaching people to rock climb, but that's a different story. And I met this beautiful rock climber guy, mountain climber, sweetest, most spiritual man that I'd ever met. His name was Paul Frederick. And we thought, or consciously we thought, I think our souls totally knew the story from the beginning, but our egos said, oh, this is perfect, love forever, have the white picket fence story now, the kids, the perfect little life, and I'm meeting him when I'm in my late 20s, it's perfect, I've had lots of time to play, we're both mountain climbers. Oh, that love story we tell ourselves, right? There was such a bigger plan at work, and it took me through a lot of pain to get to that, and what it was is that true love is about seeing your partner as a soul on their journey, and you're a soul on your journey, and you're both in for a lot of learning and growth, and you agreed to that, and that's why you fell in love, to go through that level of evolution together. So Paul was diagnosed with colon cancer and given 2 weeks to live, actually. And we did everything, conventional, alternative, and it was 1978, 79. So there wasn't a lot of anything. And he suffered terribly for a year, and I took care of him. And I cared for him at home. And I knew nothing about nursing. The hospice nurse was teaching me everything. And at the end of that year, July 13th, which is my most powerful day still, he was diagnosed on July 13th. He died exactly a year later on July 13th. I thank him for this because he made it very clear that every July 13th I have to remember that I came here for a huge soul mission, as you all did. And I had the great gift of Paul crossing in my arms as pure love, pure light, leaving his body as a soul on purpose, moving to the highest realms. I was gifted to experience that with him. He took me through watching the physical body deteriorate so I could see how the soul was radiantly beautiful through all of that suffering. And he took me through the journey of his soul leaving his body so I could never doubt that we are divine beings and that our physical bodies are our temporary shells, and that we come here on purpose for a mission, each of us, and that everything in your life is in divine order, no matter how it looks on the outside. Because what does grief make you do? It makes you go, well, wait a minute, why am I here? Big question, important question, not just to make money. Because if I'm just here to make money, forget it. Who wants to be here if that's the point of this, right? And that was my existential crisis moving after Paul's death. It was like, okay, I'm good now. There are divine beings. Paul's on the other side, love and light. I get it. I see it. All of that. He came back many times to give me more messages about all of that. Still does. And my question was, why am I left here? Why did he leave me? I don't want to be here. I don't want to have a meaningless job and get benefits and a paycheck just for survival. Who wants that? Certainly there has to be something more going on here. And that launched me into what I do now in my work, and helping all of you understand that you came here with a purpose, with a specific pain story meant to enlighten you, to bring your gifts to the world. And that we have to step away from ego lens that says, it's all supposed to be perfect down here. I'm supposed to be perfect down here. Please, people, remember this. If you remember nothing from today, there is no perfection down here in the dense realm. Give it up. Perfect is the enemy of good. Perfect is the enemy of your soul. Thank you. But you all know this. I know you know it. But think about how much time we start telling ourselves a story. Everything's going to be perfect from here on out. It's just going to be great. Think about how we tell our kids, our beautiful young children growing up, oh yeah, you know, you're going to get a career and you're going to have a meaningful career and a meaningful life and it'll all be just perfect. No, we need to be saying to our kids, especially our college-age kids who now are suffering so much from this ego lens view that we're putting out in the world that says, you graduate from college with all your debt and you go get your career and you work your tail off and live happily ever after. No wonder there's so much anxiety and panic in our young 20-somethings. I've got 2 of them. And they both went to great colleges. One of them is still in it. And they're told every day, we expect you all to go out and do something great with your lives. And they're looking at this world going, this place is crazy. And they're right about it because they're looking at it through the ego lens. And so as parents, we need to be saying to them, you're a divine being who came here on purpose, and everything that happened to you has been perfect to help you on your journey, to give you wisdom, to give you courage, not to stop you, not to make you doubt yourself, not to make you feel imperfect or flawed. It's to move you forward because I believe our pain is our greatest fuel. And I skipped a slide. So let's go to the empowers you, Kim, the next one, because we need this one right now. You should give this one to your kids as well, about feeling worthless. Is that the right one? Yeah. So as I was writing Your Divine Lens, I really channeled it through, because I've written a number of books, and I didn't want to go through that tedious process of writing where you're editing it and it's not good enough and you're blah, 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 pitiful self, ego self at work. I said, please, divine guides, this time, just channel this book through me. I promise to get out of the way. I promise not to edit it till it's done. I promise not to question whatever you're giving me, and I'll just put it in there. And I literally channeled this book through in about a month. Now, of course, I had to go back and edit. But one of the pieces that came through that I have to read every day, because I didn't write it, is this one. And I'm going to read it out loud. Feeling worthless and discouraged is an enormous waste of time for you and for anyone. There is no soul here who is worthless. There is no soul who has any reason to feel discouraged. All is evolving as it should. You are evolving as you should. So if we could all remember this and teach our children this world would shift consciousness immediately. We would be living in this world of love and light and true connection. And instead, we go into ego lens that says, well, they made a mistake. They have to pay for that mistake. And the world is crazy and it's his fault. No, it's her fault. That's our ego lens at work. But when we use our pain, you can go to the next one, Heather, using our pain as fuel. This is my favorite quote. Consider the possibility that all of your pain, every wound you've ever experienced, from loss to illness to disappointment, was exactly what you needed and chose in order to arrive at this point in your life, which is exactly where you're supposed to be. Imagine that your soul chose to experience loss to open your heart and strengthen your connection to the divine, to push you onto your true path and inspire you to accomplish your soul's great mission. Your greatest work offers to the world what you wish had been offered to you in your moment of greatest pain. Think about that. Your moment of greatest pain, was it self-doubt? Was it grief? Was it addiction? Was it career unhappiness? Whatever that moment of greatest pain and angst, you now have wisdom gathered in you from that pain journey. And it is your responsibility now to share that with the world through your work. Not to go over here and have this meaningless job on all week and make some money and get some benefits and paychecks, and then to come over here to church on Sunday or to your ashram on Sunday or whatever and have your divinity here and remember who you are here and then try to go to work and survive. No, if we could all get this right now, this world would shift. Each one of you has a great work that's done on your terms, not through a corporate boss telling you what to do, not through parroting somebody else's content, not through following rules, but through speaking from your authentic soul and creating your work, your business, your music, whatever it's going to be, to make your living. And yes, that's such a terrifying thing to think about. Imagine launching your own business when finances are tight and you're facing this or that and blah, 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 blah. And who do you think you are, says the ego. But imagine if you understood that divine order says, hey, do you remember that addiction problem you had? Do you remember that career problem you had, that grief and heartbreak? That's your gift. You have to bring that wisdom to the world now, somehow, in your career, in your work. And by the way, says divine order, says your divine lens, the moment you take a few baby steps in that direction, magic happens. It's not ruled by our left brain logic mind. Point A doesn't lead to point B. You start taking baby steps in the right direction for your career, for your work that's lined up with your pain story and with your unique gifts, and doors will open because now divine order says, hey, you're ready to step up to who you came here to be. Let us help you. Let us open the doors that are in your way. Let us bring you some opportunities to say yes to. And time goes on and your life changes. And I work with clients every day who are at that reinvention point where they can't stand the job another minute and their ego lens is dying. It's in control of all of that detailed, horrible stuff telling them that their boss is crazy, that blah, 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 blah. But their soul is going, wait a minute, remember that music career you always wanted to have? Is there some way that you could create music now that has healing, become a healer maybe, use music with it? Or remember that writing that you always did as a child? Is there some way now for you to start writing the things that are authentically true to you and make that somehow your money-making income? And your mind can't even get itself around that, but your soul is going, yes, I just have to start taking the baby steps. And yes, we hit reinvention points and we hit great awakenings. And yes, there are going to be times when you lose a lot of things that you thought were very important. And guess what? That's a good thing. Sorry, I know that people don't want to hear that. The ego lens says it's a terrible tragedy. But when you lose that job that you thought was going to save your life, Divine order is acting in your favor, going, you know what? That job was not your authentic work. Now the door has opened. Now you can start looking in some new directions. But knowing that the ego lens is going to try to poison your mind with fear every moment. Your greatest work, the next one, Heather, your greatest work offers to the world what you wish had been offered to you in your moment of greatest pain. When we lose a career, we vacillate between the ego lens, which views this loss as a reflection of our unworthiness and of the injustice of the world, and our divine lens, which sees this as the opening we've been needing in order to go in a new and more meaningful direction. So today, your promise to me is you're going to put on your divine lens when you go home and think about your career, think about your job, and how you can align or take baby steps to start moving more towards your soul's mission. And you're going to have to put on your divine lens to think about this. And your divine lens comes from 3 steps that I'll talk about again at the end. Meditation to quiet the mind, which you're all familiar with. Opening the heart and calling in wisdom and saying, please, divine guides, help me see this moment, this challenge, through my soul's wisdom and not my ego self. Just give me one little ray of light to help me do that. And we have to quiet the monkey mind enough to hear it. And that's why your meditation is so important, your daily prayer, your daily quiet time, to quiet the mind to hear your soul speaking. And this also heals or helps your relationships. I know that some of you have gone through divorce because I've heard some of the stories, and some of you are in the middle of divorce. And don't we know that the ego lens gets so fired up by divorce, right? And I think we can also kind of blame the lawyers these days because they're all into that ego lens of who's to blame. But there's even a way to view this through your divine lens. I tell my divorcing clients to stop with the ego story that says, well, he did this and he did that and blah, 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 blah. I've been divorced. Trust me, I've been there. Doesn't serve any of us. Instead, to say, and you don't have to say it out loud, you can say it in your heart and in your meditation, and you can say it now to whomever in your life you're still upset with. I see your great potential, and I'm deeply sorry I was unable to support you in fulfilling it. I will not hurt you or diminish your ability to move forward. I recognize that I have a soul connection with you, and that my actions towards you come back to me 1,000-fold. I won't dwell in anger, blame, fear, or depression, because that energy does not serve my highest good or yours. I release you fully to your soul's journey until we meet again and can make each other proud with how we've each evolved. We are now and always will be soulmates. And it's true. Anybody who has broken your heart wide open is a soulmate. We don't have just one. We have several soul agreements that say we are going to remember each other and be drawn to each other, and it's going to be a heartbreaking lesson for each of our highest good and our evolution. And if we can remember that and step into that divine lens view of it, suddenly divorce has a completely different energy. Now it has love and compassion and forgiveness. And when we talk about the greatest teacher, grief, we lose our spouses, we lose our loved ones, we lose our children as the greatest opportunity to connect to our divinity and open our heart, because that's how they connect to us. How many of you have lost a spouse? A few. How many of you have lost a loved one, parent, friend, family member? A lot. So what I want to say is you're all very divine, highly evolved souls because you've had grief as your greatest teacher. And when we're in the ego lens, the ego says, hey, nothing but pain and tragedy in this story. I can't connect to them. They've gone somewhere else. And I'm not able to access that. When you're in your divine lens, your soul, you're channeling in wisdom and intuition and the ability to connect to the other side. All of you can do this. And in my grief workshops, I teach everyone to connect to the other side and connect to their departed loved one, to ask them a question. And we can do that from our soul's place, where we can say, please, so-and-so, please, Dad, come through me right now and give me the answer to this. Why did you have to go when you did? And why? And then just start writing. And as long as your heart is open, and as long as the monkey mind is quiet, and you're seeing it through your divine lens, you are going to get wisdom from the other side. I have dear friends in here who just lost her mom, and I've worked with her before. She's a beautiful soul. And when her mom crossed, as with all of you, it happens, her mom has come back many times to give her some messages to show her she's all well. And we all get that. And what happens is the mind or the ego lens instantly goes, well, that's just a coincidence. That didn't really happen. Who cares? You found that special heart-shaped rock right in front of you. It's a coincidence. And the ego lens will do everything to talk you out of believing in your connection to the other side. So the good news is, I'm going to keep moving because I'm out of time. Let's go to the last one, Heather. Choose your divine lens, not the birth date one, the 3 different ways. So the good thing is that you guys all get to choose which lens you're going to wear to view your life today and always. And no, you won't always be able to live through your divine lens because you are human. You agreed to come here and have an ego. But when you remember now that the way to heal, the way to love, the way to move forward courageously is by stepping into your higher self and your divinity, then you have chosen your divine lens. Which lens did you choose this morning? Pick your viewpoint carefully, because the one you choose today determines everything. It pushes you down a path that becomes your story. What will your story be at the end? Will it be a tale of meaningless work and choices made from fear? Or will it be a grand and bold tale of courage, of wisdom and laughter on the path less traveled? You get to choose. And you get to choose every day of your life. And I know you're all divine beings. You're all beautiful, heartfelt souls. And you've all come here because you already know this. So now you have to share it as you go about your day. You share that divine land wisdom. You open your heart to the person who's slow in the car in the traffic in front of you. You open your heart to whoever girlfriend or friend has hurt your feelings. And you say, we are not here to be perfect. Perfect is the enemy of good. We are all divine beings on a shared journey of evolution, and I am just like you, and you are just like me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sue. That was amazing.